Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Matt Tinney, and I want to let you guys all know that Neil's found all of our podcast stuff. Amazingly enough, he did have it hidden, and it was not stolen from his car. So send him an email making fun of him for thinking it was stolen. Luckily today, we have Jenn Earheart on, who is now the program coordinator for the CIT Knowledge Network, which is our new program, part of Project Echo. Jenn is going to probably be laughing. She's laughing right now in front of me and nervous to do this podcast. Say hi, Jenn.
Hey guys, it's Jenn. Matt's so hard. He's so hard to work with.
Why are you so nervous about this podcast?
So this is my first time speaking into a microphone like this and being recorded. So it's nerve-wracking. I'm very nervous.
Just so you know, you do not sound like a honky.
That was my big fear that I told Matt about.
Yep.
I'm from the South, and when I hear myself, I sound like a big old honky.
Well, you don't sound like a honky.
Well, that's good.
So one big thing that we're trying to do is start pushing this CIT Knowledge Network, which is part of Project Echo. And I think you have a nice opinion of it because you haven't been part of it. So you're not from law enforcement background, right?
That's correct. I am not.
What is your background?
So my background is I have a master's in anthropology, which is a social science.
It's the study of ants?
It's the study of ants, or some people think dinosaurs. I think that's what you thought when we met.
That's just because I like dinosaurs?
Well, I do too, but that's not what anthropology is. But I come from a research background in public health, and I just moved to New Mexico from Chicago. And I have no background experience with law enforcement. But I was very excited when I heard about the project. I thought it was just a really innovative, cool idea, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I really liked the team, and I felt like the work was meaningful and could actually have impact. And I just wanted to be a part of it. And that's how I started. I've been here about a month.
I guess that's only been a month. Previously, were you at the University of Chicago?
So, yeah, I was working at the University of Illinois at Chicago.
Okay.
And I was there not very long, but I worked in the Department of Medicine there for a while.
So some of the things that I remember you talking about, which we were not familiar with, but you were already aware of Project Echo. And you said it's very well known.
Oh, yeah. So
what fields is Project Echo well known, or what did you know of Project Echo?
So I kind of have heard about Project Echo because they have a site at the University of Chicago, which is not where I was, but I had heard about it. But it is, I guess, popular. It's well known, the model, the idea of it, this idea of telehealth, I guess is kind of popular in right now. So there's a lot of articles about it, a lot of published stuff in journals that I've been doing research in for the study that I was on. So I would been doing some research, and I had come across Echo, and you just see that it's spread across the entire country, right, and then internationally, and it's got a great reputation. It's a great model. They have a great team there, and what's great about them is they share their resources so openly, and they're all about replication. So I think that's why or maybe why I had heard more about it, because it's just spread so quickly.
Right. What do you mean by, what does replication mean? I think it's such an odd sound. What do they say? It's echo replication.
Yeah, that's how they sell it. So it's this idea that maybe you start a hub, or, you start this group of people that are interested in, like for us, crisis intervention stuff. And so maybe we get started and we do it for a few years, think this is really great, and then maybe someone joins our network from somewhere else, and they're like, hey, this is great, but we really want to do this here in New York or in California, right, or in Washington. So we're going to implement our own version of it here. And the idea is that you just take that one initial hub that you start with, and it just spreads, and it just continues to spread. And the idea is spreading that knowledge, that continuing to spread the greater access to knowledge.
Right. I know a big thing for Project Echo is to try to reach out to the rural areas, so the harder to serve areas. And so Niels and I, so Project Echo started in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we are. And Niels and I went to the main Project Echo to give a talk about CIT policing. And that's kind of what started this whole project. And typically Project Echo that is more medicine-based.
Yes.
It's typically
that's what I mean.
field.
It started in the field of medicine. Dr. Aurora is a gastroenterologist at the University of New Mexico, and he started it. And traditionally, most of the echo work you see is in medicine.
Right.
And we're one of the first that's really kind of breached out of that.
Right. And so we had gone there, and I think we were doing it for emergency rooms or something like that. And we thought this would be a great thing to do to get access to doctors and experts in this field to do outreach to public safety, because that's what's kind of lacking right now in the CIT model of policing. And so we had applied for a grant through the BJA, the Bureau of Justice Assistance. It's the same grant. If any listeners out there looking at starting CIT programs, they help with getting money to start your own program. We were actually able to get a grant for this program. Even without the grant, we were still going to do it. And so there's still availability to do it without funding if you guys can have dedicated personnel. But with the grant, we were able to get Jenn, which has already helped us out tremendously.
Thanks, Matt.
And so we're going to start doing much more outreach. And I'm going to embarrass her more because we were trying to do podcasts to let people know about this. Mm-hmm. And so I always have a hard time sometimes explaining this project because it is medicine-based and it's so foreign to public safety, this idea. So everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's a little webinar you guys are doing. So people just log on and do a webinar. And that's not it. And sometimes I think I get stuck in my own culture on figuring out how to do it. So how would you describe it? What is this project? What are we doing?
How would I describe the CIT Knowledge Network from an outsider perspective?
Yes. Okay,
so I guess it's kind of like these weekly, what we call clinics, but, not like the same type of clinic in the medicine world.
Right.
But they're weekly meetings. They're about an hour and a half long. And they're structured around dialogue, conversation. They're not really webinars, or that's not the focus. That's not the point of it. The point is to get law enforcement, public safety in a room and talk about real issues, talk about things that they're seeing in the field, and how they can improve their interactions with people with mental illness, maybe, based off real cases. So the first little bit, it's kind of open floor of the meeting where we talk about, what are people seeing out in the field, or is there anything anyone wants to really discuss, or, how are you guys doing out in the field, right now with everything that's going on and all the attention, maybe negative attention that you're getting. And then it moves into hopefully a case presentation. So the idea that one of the officers maybe comes prepared, or, over the course of the beginning of the conversation thinks, oh yeah, actually, there was something that happened to me in the field. I've been dealing with this one person. I really want to talk to the group about it, share, get feedback, opinions. And then also, which is to me the most one of the more interesting, is this exchange of resources. Mm-hmm. That I've seen so I've been to maybe 4 or 5 echoes now, just, kind of, or clinics, observing. And I guess the exchange of resources and information that you would think, oh, everyone should know this. And,
right.
It's not, maybe, I don't know. You think there'd be some, my perception of law enforcement, there's some handbook that you're given, here's all the places you can take someone. Here's what you need. And it doesn't seem like that does exist, right. For you guys. So that was kind of interesting to see how you guys work out, something that seems so basic for what you would need to do your job. Okay, where can we send this person? I was just kind of fascinated by that. I think to me, it seems like it's really helpful to your group. And then, occasionally there's that follow up where maybe the previous few weeks, oh yeah, so how did that end up? What did you need? Or, maybe sharing papers or other things.
Right.
And then that follows with the didactic, which is basically not really a webinar, but, a brief. It's very brief, 15 minutes from usually a psychiatrist or an outside presenter talking about either CIT policing or resources or psychiatric disorders. So it really varies by the person presenting, and then it closes. Is that good?
I think that's a good explanation.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good summary of it. So, and we do didactics, and some of the listeners here, when we lost the equipment because we thought it was stolen, I have just been putting the didactic section up so that everyone can kind of listen and continue their knowledge about this stuff. one of the things I think is unique, like you're saying about the case presentations, is access to this wealth of knowledge when it comes to resources. And we here locally in New Mexico, we don't have a major guide. They're trying to revamp our resource system here in the medicine and give access to law enforcement. We could like look on the computer. And if there is any listeners out there that have resource books that they want to share or PDFs, you guys can send it in to me. It's info@gocit.org. I can put it up on the website. We can share it or any links like that. The more knowledge for people, the best. So Jenn came in. She started looking at our clinics. Do you have any other previous experience in law enforcement, family in law enforcement or public safety, or did you grow up in a police station, so to say?
That's a good question. No. So I am like a blank slate, new baby to law enforcement. No family in law enforcement.
Sorry, did you say law enforcement?
Law enforcement. Law enforcement.
Lawn.
There's that honky accent.
No.
What was I going to say? But yeah, also I had very limited interaction with law enforcement too. Like I've personally,
just arrest and stuff.
Yeah, never had a personal interaction. So really, I think my ideas have been shaped by I guess the media.
Because that's what I ask. I know I always bug you about your perception of things, just because I'm so in the culture. I mean, this is what I do, so this is normal to me. But I know it's not the normal world. So I know taking a job and then all of a sudden, so you're pretty much stationed here at our Family Advocacy Center. So she is stationed here, just submersed in law enforcement. This is a law enforcement building, so there's just detectives all around her. What were some? Is there any misconceptions you can say? Oh, I totally thought this, or I was worried about this, or anything?
Well, I think I had a ton, right? Of maybe misconceptions and worries. I think I've told Matt, I was worried how people would, take me as an outsider, just wanting to, make sure that people took me well and know that I'm here for the right reason, or, I didn't want to come off in the wrong way. It can be kind of, I don't know, a closed culture in a way, and it's hard coming as an outsider. And when you're based, at a police center with all police, and there is a strong culture of acronyms and hierarchy and just...
I didn't think about the acronyms. That's
a lot point. I still don't know what's going on a lot of the time, when people are talking, but... And speaking to misconceptions, well, yeah, if my, idea of law enforcement, especially, with all this current attention, is being shaped by the media, I definitely was surprised by, I guess, the attitudes of the officers that I met. I thought I was going to be encountering a lot of negativity or hostility, maybe.
What do you mean? Like towards you or just in general?
Well, before I joined the project, I have to preface and say that I didn't realize that, who I'd be working with exactly, that, you guys, Matt and Niels, were already in the department and had this CIT thing going. I didn't realize I'd be with the crisis intervention unit. Right. I thought we were kind of, as a unit, going to be outsiders trying to, here's this that you guys need to do. You need to do better, finger waving, blah, yelling at people. Yeah. And it's not like that. You guys are already a part of, this department, this unit, whatever you want to call it. So I wasn't sure what I was walking into. And also, you just have this idea of, I guess, cops being one way. But, I've had a lot of people ask me how my experience has been. And I would say I'm actually really surprised by how positive all the people that I've met, in the network are really interested in these topics and in mental health and how to do better and really want to change things. And it's just so cool to be a part of it, especially I think as an outsider. I feel like I'm getting to be in this special little place, and see,
no, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No,
it's cool. I just really feel strongly about the program, the idea of it, especially using this ECHO model that we talked about, this idea of logging in weekly, because it's just, this knowledge it's continuous. It keeps going. It's always evolving, and having a safe place to talk about things honestly with other people and share ideas and resources. I think that's good for any field. So
right,
and it just seems like it's coming at such a good time. for law enforcement.
I agree. I think one of the things you said about kind of the media and the perception of law enforcement right now, it's a big national change right now in law enforcement, I think. And so this does give officers or anyone in public safety access to truthfully talk about a case, even if they messed up. Like, hey, I was out with someone, I think they had a mental illness. We, tased them 4 times. I don't think that was right. And we break down those cases and we look at where were different intervention techniques that we could have tried, or how could you have slowed down that situation, which in the long run I think will help with lawsuits, and it helps with lack of use of force, and it saves officers and it saves the people they're out with. One of the things, though, that I always get shocked with is when I meet people and I'm giving them a talk about something, or we're discussing projects, and they're always like, wow, it's just so weird to hear a cop talk like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. I guess I didn't know you guys were always wanting to try to change something. Yeah, we became a cop to help the community. And it's always odd to me when I hear that. But I'm like, I guess, people think a whole different idea right now of what law enforcement is, or the mindset. But there's a lot of people out there in law enforcement that believe in this style of policing, or see the value of it, and it is a nice place to go to promote it. It's it is unique. What about any other oddities about the culture of law enforcement you see? Not necessarily this project, but
how honest do you want me to be?
I want you to be honest.
The profanity.
The profanity.
Can I say that? Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
I was surprised by the amount of cussing.
Like, it's a lot, or a little?
Well,
every other
to
word?
me, it's a lot, having, again, come from, like, working mostly at universities and in the research world. It's not one of those occupational cultures where it's, like, heavy on the profanity. There are lots of jobs that are like that, and I think this is one of them. And so just getting used to that is a little... I don't know. Matt's giving me a hard time because I correct myself when I cuss too. If I
Excuse
cuss.
me, I said the S word.
Yeah, I apologize for saying the S word earlier. I got in trouble.
I was like, you can go ahead and say that. You can shit all over the place, all you want to.
It feels wrong.
Yeah.
It still feels wrong.
I think it's odd because you can see people that are non-law enforcement that have been in it for a while, they adapt that attitude.
Yeah.
So, like, someone mentioned Niels the other day, and they're like, yeah, Doc, I was so surprised. He was just cussing all meeting. I'm like, well, I guess he does cuss now. That's completely different. You almost adapt to your culture in a way.
Yeah.
And so that is odd. What are other oddities about law enforcement? Besides the constant acronym use?
Acronym use, profanity. I think I was starting to hit on it, but I don't know if I finished my thought. But, going back to my idea when I first joined, being worried about how people would take me, I have been so surprised by how well... I've been taken in by your team, by the unit. Everyone is, can I say friendly? I don't know how to describe it, but, there is this camaraderie amongst maybe all police officers. I don't know, Matt, you can probably speak to this more, but, like, it's almost like you're not just coworkers. There's something else there. The support that you seem to give each other is really nice. It's kind of refreshing. Like, I don't always I feel like you guys are coworkers, but just in the month that I've been here, like, it just, something is different. I don't know how to put my finger on it yet. Like, I can't point to it yet, but there is this just, like, camaraderie is all I can really call it right now, of just, like, and you guys are out there in the field and you want each other to be safe, and, it's like, maybe it's
Looking
a little bit of
we
that.
We call it the thin blue line. We're a family.
I think it's
thin blue line.
It's so nice to be a part of that, because it doesn't feel just like work. It feels on top of getting to be involved in such a cool project. When I never thought I would be, a part of something like this, I also get, like, this little strange dysfunctional family.
That
you get
I like
to come
the dysfunctional part.
Just a nice little dysfunctional family, and it makes for an interesting work environment for sure. Because you guys get shit done. Can I say that?
Yeah.
You guys have a lot on your plate. Like, there's a lot of reports and just memos, and, I've sat in on all these meetings, and you guys do a lot and work a lot, and so you're here together and you're around each other a lot, and it's different.
I think one of the things, and I remember when Doc had talked to me about this before, but it is like this odd family. The only thing I can say is, in law enforcement, the people you work with might protect you one day. It's just odd to think that way. Like, you might be in a situation where that person might have to take someone's life for you, or you might have to take someone's life to protect them. You never know. And so I think you develop these different style of relationships or respect for each other.
Yeah.
Because of that, or you view people differently, like a brotherhood or sisterhood.
Yeah.
You know, like you feel like you have to be closer to people because of the negative things that you see.
Yeah.
And so it does translate over to people, and I think some people get addicted to that too. They don't feel like they can work in a different environment. Like, I'm going to work, but I don't feel like I have a goal or a mission in life, and I feel like I'm doing something good, and these people have my back, and I can trust them. And so I think people they have trouble getting out of law enforcement. You know, like when they retire, you don't have that support system or this thought of support system. And so that can be hard, but it does. I mean, we hear that a lot. A lot of people, when they come that aren't law enforcement, that do the civilian side of stuff, they talk about that. You guys are like a close-knit family. It's so cool to have that. And you guys are always there for each other. We give each other a hard time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
No, we don't at all.
There's a lot of practical jokes around this office.
That might just be this office.
I think that's just that might be special to you guys.
Yeah, we're kind of jokesters or dicks. I don't know how to say.
Yeah,
we can prank each other a lot, and we give each other a hard time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here. What other things have you seen? Is there any kind of stuff that you were surprised about?
Surprised by? No, not really.
You would say you were surprised about our meetings.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, so that is one thing. Is I think any outsider, civilian, whatever you want to call us, would be like, oh, my goodness. And I think this might be special to you guys, your unit, again.
Right. A lot of people say this about our meetings, but how would you describe our meetings?
So I guess I say
organized chaos, but go ahead.
Okay, so I will agree with that, but I will say that the first meeting I went into, the first staff meeting, these are staff meetings specifically we're talking about, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. There were paper airplanes being thrown.
This sounds like a cartoon, but go ahead.
No, legitimately a paper airplane was thrown multiple times in the middle of the meeting, and it wasn't even like people really, not everyone noticed. That's how chaotic it was on the other end. Like, people were like, no one said anything about it. It was just like, that's a normal thing. No worries. And I guess what's odd really is just all the side conversations, and they're not side conversations though. So I would call it a side conversation if I was in a traditional meeting format. But for you guys, I feel like I don't know. It's like there's meetings within meetings happening, and it's like there is no official person leading this meeting. There's no there might be an agenda. There is the sergeant in the room, the lieutenant, but like, things are getting done and accomplished, but everybody's just talking at once. But it's kind of like cool because it's like this egalitarian, equal.
Fancy word you just used there. Look at that.
It's like we're all an equal society. Right. It's not like I need to ask someone to speak, or like I'm scared. I would never be scared in any of these meetings to share my opinion. I have not always felt that way at work. If you're going to say something, make sure that you know what you're talking about, or you know what I mean? But what's cool about your meetings is because that necessarily isn't there. I feel like you guys can be a little bit more creative. I sat in another meeting, the one following your staffing meeting when I first started, and it felt that way. It was kind of like you guys were prepared in some senses, but also it was kind of like a lot of side conversations. But it honestly felt like there was one point where you guys went around on 4 different options before you finally settled on a solution.
Right.
But it felt like every single person in the room offered an opinion, an idea of how to fix it. And then you guys talked about each one, gave each person the same amount of respect. No one was dismissed based on their level or position, rank, whatever you want to call it. It was really... It's really cool to see, but again, I don't know if that's special to you guys.
I would say it is kind of, we are in a unique unit that way, and I think we have established this idea of always collaboration. So we try to value everybody's opinion, which is nice, but it leads to those chaotic meetings. Yeah. Because when everyone's on the same playing field, everyone wants to have a comment, or they all have their own side meetings and their own paper airplanes, I guess. But that goes back to the family atmosphere, I think.
Well, I think it goes back to the type of work you guys do, because your type of CIT is community involved, and you guys do make that a point. Right. And the meetings I've seen meetings where consumers are present, and their points are, just as equally respected and addressed.
Right.
And you guys kind of take that attitude that you have with your training and implement it as your culture too. It's refreshing.
I think it's nice to hear that from an outsider. I always wonder, because normally the outsiders we get are field officers or an officer from somewhere else, where they're just like, this is completely different, but it's different in every section in law enforcement you go. So it is unique to hear that, and I'm glad that you feel that way, because I think one thing is, everyone has different opinions and different life experiences, and just because you don't have rank or you're not a manager position doesn't mean you don't have a valid point that can help something. So I do think it's good, and I hope that everyone in those meetings feel like they can say something. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But we do have a rather large unit, like with different experts now, which isn't the normal. Like we have PhDs that are experts in data. We have medical doctors that are expert in curriculum writing now. So, we have a very diverse group, which is kind of unique to see us all as coworkers, like on the same level. So you have people with rank in law enforcement, then you have medical doctors, and we're talking to each other like we're coworkers, which is a little different.
Yeah, you guys are definitely a special group. I don't mean that in a weird...
That's not bad. You guys are... Why did you do air quotes when you said that?
I didn't... That's
She did
false.
air quotes.
It's fine.
That's false. She did not.
It did not happen.
So, I'm glad. I'm glad that the culture's different. I always wonder what people think, like coming in, like, well, I watched this movie, so I think cops are like this. What is the movie that best represents law enforcement that you've seen so far? Super Troopers?
Super Troopers. I do love that movie. Yeah, it's a great one.
I think law enforcement, that's the closest to it.
You guys do play some of the same jokes that they do.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's like...
I'm saying we're like Super Troopers.
I don't know. That's a great question. Can I answer that next time?
Sure.
I don't know. Or whenever.
Yeah.
Not on podcast. I mean,
I think people are fighting on stuff.
I actually can't think of any cop movies.
You just don't watch cop movies.
I was thinking of... What's the one where he's like, Utah, give me 2. Point Break. Point Break.
Point Break.
He's like, Utah, give me 2.
Are we like Point
Where
Break?
he's like talking about the hot dogs.
Oh my goodness.
I love that movie.
Is that what?
Well, I think that's how I want it to be, but it's not how it is.
I always think of us as like repelling and fighting terrorism and buildings blowing up around us, but it doesn't happen.
No, it's really, and true, I'm like a civilian. I don't go out with you guys, so I don't even see what your day-to-day is, really.
You're going to have to go out with the home visit teams and see. You really are. What's the most intimidating thing working with cops?
Intimidating
or on this project?
Thing? I guess... Oh, I don't know. I don't want to be too honest. Well, like...
Wow. So something must be bad.
No. Intimidating. I guess personally, it's intimidating. I think everything I'm going to say is just being this like outsider civilian person. Like, I want to be well liked. I don't want people to think that like I'm pushing any sort of agenda that, I saw a problem. I don't know. I feel sometimes like I want to, just try to fit in as much as possible, and it can be intimidating because it's it's such a unique culture again. Like, that's all I can really say.
You just hear all the crap talking from us, too, and you're like, oh, my God, am I one of those people they talk crap about?
It's like high school in here.
Yes, this is like high school. Law enforcement is like high school.
There's a lot of, like...
Drama,
and I hope I don't have to be a part of it, but...
You're part of it now.
Yeah, I guess when I agreed to the job...
When you agreed to the job, part of that was the drama contract you signed.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's not in every culture?
What?
There's not drama like this?
No, drama's everywhere, for sure. It's just different because you're cops and you have guns. It's like,
I guess I didn't think about that. I think everyone assumes. I like that it's, you have guns. I think everyone assumes, that we're different because we're cops. Yeah. That we are like almost robots, or we have to fit a certain image in a way. And I think it shocks people when they're like, you're like a real person. I'm like, yeah, we're real people.
Yeah, you're just cool dudes and ladies. And
some of us.
Yeah, not everyone, but everyone's really, honestly, great. I feel like I sound like everything's super positive.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
I wasn't either, but
Yeah, so you're really trying to sell this up.
No, I don't know.
I was just surprised there wasn't somebody who was like, oh, I came here and this is what surprised me about law enforcement.
Well, I think everything's so surprising.
Right.
It's just so different. I can't pick one like singular thing like, oh my God, this is the most surprising or this is the most intimidating. I don't know.
What's your expectations with this project? What are you hoping to get out of it?
To change the world. That's
you.
What Matt says. I had a feeling I was being set up there.
No. My goal for this is to change the world.
Matt's going to be a world changer, so I think he's dragging me along here.
Jen asked, well, what do you think we're trying to do? I was like, well, you're here to help me change the world. That's what I said, and I truly mean it.
I think he is serious.
Yeah, I really am. I think we have an opportunity to it. It is a lofty goal.
I totally support that goal, though, and I think that's why I wanted to be on the project, because I really... not to like gush over it, but it's such a cool idea. I'm not familiar, not only am I outsider to law enforcement, but I'm also unfamiliar with crisis intervention training. And so I'm still learning that. But, as an outsider, I had no idea that you guys even had crisis intervention training. I just assumed that you learned this in the academy, that you just got all this information at some other point, but one, crisis intervention training, the idea of it, really cool. But two, the model that you're using with this ECHO and the idea of connecting to so many people and reaching out. And it's the access to resources and knowledge that you're providing. And these skills that, from what I can tell, I'm not sure people are getting other places. And, it seems really unfortunate when so many officers are having contact with people with mental illness or who are in mental health crisis, and they don't know what to do, it seems like, or maybe they didn't get the training. And I've had to ask myself, well, what I would have done in a situation if I had been in one of these cases that one of the officers is presenting in our clinic, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't, your day-to-day job is just so hard and difficult. And to hear what some of the things that you guys are seeing, and that's just the norm for you, and you don't have maybe again just even the resources to send people to or know what they are, or are able to hey, so I'm not really sure how this went, do you get to talk to people like that normally? It just seems like such a valuable resource. And so I don't know how I couldn't gush over it. I don't know how anyone who, hears about this project does. They get excited about it.
Right. I think, I think this would be I'm glad that we're doing a podcast on it so that people that are interested to it, that they could ask to be part of this. And so we meet weekly on Fridays from 9:30 to 11 Mountain Standard Time. If you guys are in public safety of some matter, or you are part of a CIT program. But if you are in public safety, so law enforcement, corrections, probation, parole, paramedics, fire department, things like that, you guys can send a request to Jennifer. What's your email?
It is JEARHEART@cabq.gov.
Wow, that was quite slow, and that was nice.
Well, should I repeat it?
Yeah. So you can send her an email with a request for that. If you guys didn't get that, you can also always send it to me on the podcast, which is ask@gocit.org or info@gocit.org. You can also email me at the city as well as mtinney@cabq.gov and ask for it. That's an automatic on it. So this is a closed network. It's not available to the public because we do staff cases, and we want to protect the rights of those individuals that we come in contact with to make sure that they're not feeling stigmatized, and we want the best what's for our community. If you are a CIT program coordinator or trainer and you are part of a CIT program, but you don't meet those other qualifications, we do staff it with the network to see if you guys qualify to come on or if you guys would be able to help us with this stuff. And we do welcome outside presenters, right?
Yes, so the last Friday of the month is open to an outside presenter. Again, they only come to give a presentation on whatever topic, and they're only there for that 15-20 minutes.
And so if you guys have an awesome program you want to share, or you have a specialty in a field that you think would benefit public safety with their interactions with behavioral health crisis, send us an email. We'll hook you guys up. We could do this off-site. It's a computer program called Zoom It's kind of like Skype. We kind of zoom in. You can share PowerPoint. We give a talk and open it up to conversations on it. We have a member site, too, that we put all the didactics for. You guys work in graveyards that can't make those hours or working the odd shifts. It sucks working shift work. But that way you guys have access to the didactics. It is a very cool project, and it's going to be awesome now that you're on board, Jen, because I think we're going to be able to do a lot of outreach for it. I know they're already asking us to travel in the state to start showing people this stuff, and it is good. And we're going to be up in Washington in 2 weeks, in Tacoma, Washington. If you guys are listening and you're at CIT Regional, come and stop by and say hi to me and Niels and Ray, because we'll be up there, and you guys can hear about the project and about our program here in Albuquerque. But we want as many people on there, because the more knowledge and more people we can help in our communities for it. It is definitely a cool idea. One of the misconceptions, and going back to what you're saying, that I do see a lot is people think law enforcement and paramedics or fire personnel have this training already.
Yeah,
I think everyone just thinks, well, you guys get this in basic training, or you guys can shoot guns out of people's hands and things like this. And that is a big misconception I see everywhere. And I always thought, too, that paramedics or your fire personnel got it. Until I had talked to them, they're like, no, we get a few stuff on mental health, but we're emergency medicine. That's an emergency. We don't need to focus on that. And I think traditionally in law enforcement, it's criminal stuff. So that's what you focus on is learning about criminal investigations, not necessarily about how to deal with mental health. And so that's where the big change of it came. And a lot of places, including here, have added more mental health training in the academy, but it is definitely something I think that should be continuing ongoing. So if you have a program that doesn't have continuous training, this is a good way to get it for free. You keep that conversation going. You know, cops, we qualify each year on firearms, so you have to shoot. Some places do a shooting qualifications every 6 months, but you don't do it for de-escalation skills. And so you kind of have to keep that conversation going and continue that training. This is just another aspect of it. And it's case-based learning, which is new to law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to develop some best practices so that help with, lawsuits and raise the standards for law enforcement for the most part, which is nice. And I think the men and women in uniform, this is something that they need, and I think they're passionate about helping everybody they come in contact with. So it's just a tool for them to help them. Do you have any other last thoughts or comments you want to say?
I think I'm good. I'm all set.
Yeah. Are you getting a little bit more comfortable with the podcast?
I'm much more comfortable than when we started.
Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't stutter. You didn't say
still mad at you
times. So thank you for coming on and talking about the project.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I'd love to come again.
Oh, here we go. And thank you guys all for listening to this, and we'll try to include more podcasts along with the Knowledge Network stuff. So thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Bye.